So whilst RISC OS has a nice Windows icons, menus, pointers interface, it also supports a command line environment where you can run BBC Basic, and RDSP also makes BBC Basic type or BBC Micro style sounds, such as this one or this one. Fun to show that. The main difference, you've got actually 16 sound channels, and you've got a lot more features which we'll go into. It can offer the same sort of things as the synthesizers could that I was showing earlier, as well as some things those ones couldn't do, but the sort of thing the Korg M1 could do or a sampler could do. So you can play back recorded sounds, samples in other words, at different pitches, but you can play around with them and do cool stuff with them. So we'll look at that. Yeah, you've got 16 sound channels. So let's go away from this, nostalgic as it is, and look at this environment. So RDSP is freely available from the website. Before I show you what these things sound like, I might show you what they look like. I've plugged in a drawing tablet. There we go. So I can draw slightly better than I can with my mouse. So we're just hearing. If I choose black, we'll see it better. We were just hearing this sort of thing, a square wave. The BBC Micro could also do noise, which was effectively lots of little pulses randomly distanced apart like that. So RDSP can do both of those things, but what we're going to listen to now is what the Juno was doing at one point. The Roller Juno was doing a saw wave, which looks like the bottom of a saw that you cut wood with, a sawtooth effectively. We're also going to hear a triangle wave. So it's supposed to be a triangle. We'll minimize that. Minimize that. Right. So on this command line, let's move that out of the way, so I won't keep running into it. We can do some things with the help command that you're probably not supposed to do with it, but I implemented it anyway. You get help on the sound command, or a little bit. You get help with the envelope command. We've got examples here of how these things work as well. So what I'm going to try to show are the different waveforms. I'm going to show how to write some simple envelopes, and we're going to look at playing some samples, and we're going to also do an envelope that plays around with a sample. Right? So a few simple things which we're going to cover. So I'm going to write them down, I think. So the first thing is different waveforms. Right, so if we play on channel 2 and we start with a little hexadecimal number and we play 2080, the 20 refers to the tone or the waveform. In this case it's going to be a saw wave. So let's do that. Now if we change that to 1F, another magic number, it's actually a bit mask, we'll go into that in a minute, then that will play a square wave. We go a bit lower, we can make the square wave narrower. That's 0880, a little hard to see maybe. So it sounds quite different. On channel 2 we're going to go, you can keep going down by the way, you can go all the way down to 1. Very low. We go higher to the next bit in the bit mask, we get the triangle wave. It's a very soft sound. If we go up to the next bit to show 80, then 80 we'll do it against the volume of 90 just to make it slightly distinct. Sort of sound. Now, just like the Commodore 64 SID chip was supposed to do, we can add these together. So if I put in, I don't know, 1F, let's say I put that together with the saw wave, let's do those two together because that's probably easiest to hear. Let's do triangle and saw together. You'll see that sounds different. For those two. You can mix noise in there and mess around with the pitch. Let's try that. Let's put 1F, which is this square wave, together with the noise wave, which is 80, wherever that's gone. So that's 9F, 80, well, that's the pitch. You can get RDSP to cue these things up, but I'm not going to go into that now. It's quite easy, just put another number on it, but I don't want to make it any more complicated than it is. That's what happens when you try to demonstrate things. Oh, next. That's not a command that it's going to recognize. Taking off now. That was exciting. Maybe if we just take out the tone, you should hear it's kind of gone away. But it's not mixing them together, it's adding them together, which has a different effect, really. Then you can't do that on a typical synthesizer, but you were supposed to be able to do it on the SID chip. I'm going to make that quicker because it took far too long. Exciting as it was. So, you don't have to do it that way in a loop. You've got envelope commands. They do it for you. All they do is repeat an instruction to change the sound in some way. So we saw the envelope on the synthesizer where you could kind of change the attack, decay, sustain, and how long the sound was. So if I open up the effects program here, so we're moving on now to the next thing I want to talk about. We'll demonstrate, and that's envelopes. We're going to keep it nice and simple. I promise. So, Let's go help. It's always good to ask for help. It tells you what the different bits of the envelope command are. The reason why I think people find it frightening, and why I got confused with it when I was a child, is you've got 14 parameters. And that makes it quite complicated. But all the parts of this are really simple. If you break it up into small pieces, all problems are always simpler because you're only dealing with little parts of it. So the first part is the number. The envelope number also selects the kind of envelope you want. If you have the high bit set, then you can use samples rather than just simple waveforms. But we'll come to that later. So, here we go. We've got envelope number 1. I want to use that square wave we mentioned. That's W up there. Then we've got the filter. Going to leave it fully open. So F is actually just means it's all the way up. If it was a physical slider on a synthesizer or a knob, it would turn all the way up to the maximum so nothing gets lost. And the feedback, the whistling noise we can hear on the synthesizer, what you can hear on them if you have a resonance control, is all the way down, so it's not going to do anything. Then we're going to change the pitch and we're going to make it repeat. So there's 2 bits set, 1 and 8 goes together. We're going to make it go slowly so we can hear it. So it's going to take 1/10 of a second. That's 10 1/100ths of a second. They're going to be 10 steps in the first and third stage, 10 steps in the second stage. And we're going to make it go up really enough we can hear it. Make it go up 8 tones at a time. Then down 8 tones. Ooh. Then down 1 tone for the sake of it. Why not? We're going to make it start really quickly. Attack. Attack is 1. And we're going to go straight to 200. Hold it there and decay slowly. So envelope number, kind of sound we want. Kind of like adjustments to the sound. How we want the sound to change. Some description of what the change will be. 10 steps at a time, and how much we change by, and then the attack, decay, sustain, release. So you get plucking sounds or slow sounds like we saw on the synthesizers. So what happens? Let's see if this will work. Our last little bit there was going down slowly was the -1. Let's do that. So it doesn't have to be a square wave, it could be a saw wave. Let's soften the filter, put a little tiny bit of feedback on it. Can't remember how much you have with it. And we'll make everything a bit quicker. This is 1/100th of a second. Make everything else the same. I copied an extra one of those. Don't want that. So we can hear the saw wave sort of sound. Sounds like someone rubbing their finger along a balloon. So that's quite fun. So that illustrates the sort of thing you can do. Change the waveform. You can modify other things, such as the pulse width, and do all sorts of lovely stuff with the filter and how loud it is, but we're not going to do that. Because now we've got to move on to the next thing, which is samples. Okay. Let's open up another example. Because that will reduce the chances of me having finger trouble, which can be a bit of a problem when you're doing demonstrations. At least it is for me. Let's get the flute sound and open that. So this does 2 things in this example. We're just going to start with one thing at the moment, which is loading the flute sound, which I hope I've got the right directory set. I have. Brilliant. I've now loaded that into slot number 2. If I stick another number on the front, that and 20 and 21 means sound channel 1 play sample. I can then, where I put the waveform a minute ago, put put the sample number. That's 02. Play it at half volume. And, oh, I'll make it a bit higher. I think that's a bit too slow. Oh, doesn't help if I have the finger trouble I mentioned earlier. So that's playing the sample. I accidentally did earlier. If I change this number, I can change the pitch. It just these things are set musically, so if you have a musical sample, you can repitch it and play it like an instrument. And I'm actually working on a tracker that will play samples and waveforms, and you can then make music with RDSP. That's the plan. A bit easier than you can now, where you have to write a program to do it. So that's fun. Now, fun as it is to play a sample, it can be a voice or anything, any kind of sound you like. It's just a sample. We can change the pitch and things like that. So if I do this, I've loaded the sample now into memory, and we can now set to sound channel 1 actually. Play sample 130 at pitch 130 for 500. I have forgotten one important thing, so I probably want to loop that sample because it's a bit short. And when samples are short, it helps to loop them and repeat them over again. And here you can see we have a loop point and a loop 2. So let's see if I've got this right this time. No, the demo devil has bitten us, or bitten me, well and truly. And I have to figure out why and what I've done wrong. Let's do a sanity check. I can make a noise, that's always good. Right, so let's run the example. What a fantastic idea. Gosh, that's bound to work. Okay, let's do that. So I don't know why my type didn't work. It means I didn't copy it properly or I did something silly. That's quite normal when you do demonstrations. That's why I have the examples. When I demonstrated this at a show years ago, I just ran the examples rather than trying to type things. Anyway, let's break this down. Envelope number 130, playing sample 2, filter fully open. It's B, and that, if I do help envelope, all that does is it loops the sound over and over again. There's a loop. Then it says modify the filter, it says making it softer and brighter, and it changes the pitch, which you can hear that if we just like play the sample. I think the reverb's still on because it has sound effects on here too. We're not going to go into sound effects today. Suffice to say, you can make echoes and do choruses and things if you turn them on. I think it's a bit too short. That's probably where I was going wrong. Yeah, that's where I was going wrong. You couldn't hear it. So that's what happens if we just play the sample. And if we play the envelope, I think there's a vibrato on it. We could do something a bit more drastic. Yeah, it's a really simple thing. It's put a wobble on it. So I wrote this example a few years back, but just like the other envelope command, we can do something a bit more drastic. So that's the time, I think. Let's have more steps in it. And let's make it do some big steps. Yes, right, 32. This is going to sound very silly, by the way. So I hope that's okay. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we are. So this is envelope number, sample to play, filter settings, options, which I'm just going to loop it. I think it's doing pitch and everything, isn't it? That's good. Then we're going to go 1/50th of a second to change it. 10 steps in the stages. Then we're going to do these big numbers. So it's going to go up a lot. I think I'll make the last one go down. Why not? What could possibly go wrong? Then we'll go and just have a really simple sort of thing that comes on really quick and fades away. Well, what's this going to do? Yeah, but it's a flute sound, and that would work on a voice as well, or anything really. So it's not just a simple synthesizer sound. Anyway, it's quite fun. I've currently got the echo turned on. This command actually turns the reverb and everything off, or whatever I've turned on. I think it's echo. So if I get rid of that, we'll just hear the sound of its own. With no echo. So there we go. I think that's enough for this. We've covered the different waveforms you can make, covered how to write a simple envelope, how to play some samples and to play around with samples. And in the next episode I'll sort of build on that, maybe cover effects and maybe show you how you can put it in a program. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more of this content, or if you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe. Thanks very much for watching. Appreciate it.